Hi, you're listening to Not the Girl Next Door show, and I have Razorwire Halo on the show with me today. And could you guys tell me a little bit about the band and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Tack. I'm the lead vocalist and the creator of the band itself from many years ago.
Hi, I'm Skylar. I'm the bassist.
I'm Daryl. I play guitar.
Yeah, we've been around for quite a while. Billy, our drummer, and Kyle, our other guitarist, they couldn't make it for this interview, but we usually try to get everyone on all of that. But the band's been around for quite a while. I'd say probably 2011 or so is really when Razorwire Halo found its defining sound and look that we wanted to go with, and started putting out some albums that we felt like was our future, what we wanted to do. Started becoming more concept-based and a little more aggressive, I think, and a little grittier.
Now, how did you guys come up with the name Razorwire Halo?
Many years ago when I was in high school, my brother and I actually, he also did music for quite a while, but we were trying to figure out how to combine our bands that we had, and we were kind of just looking around for some cool words that we liked that kind of fit and had a kind of a neat, interesting kind of feel to them. It doesn't actually have an actual meaning behind it. There's like no in-depth kind of, type that. Although for some reason, for years and years we didn't really have this, but over the last few years, people thought it had kind of a religious base to it, which I thought was interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Me either. Wow.
Yeah. So I try to explain quickly that no, it has nothing to do with religion in any way. So, so I was like, no. Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't actually. I can see where some people might come from that, but if they listen to our music, they're gonna notice pretty quick that it's not a Christian rock band or like a satanic metal band or anything like that. So It's somewhere really well in between those two pieces. So yeah, my brother and I, we really came up with it, and honestly, the band name's been around forever, but what the band is now is not what it was back then. It's really, that was just a placeholder of a name for to figure out what we wanted to do with this band.
Well, what kind of, so you guys have moved away from the sound that you guys started from, or? Yeah. I'd say, because it was 2001 really is when the name itself came around, and we played live a little bit under that name. Nothing was released until 2005, and then, like I said, it's not until about 2011 when we really kind of found that new sound we want. Maybe even 2010 with Bombshell would probably be around there, but it's really about 2011 when I really feel like we hit our stride on that. But when we started out, there was no guitars really. All the drums were synth drums, no live bass, all keyboards, very synthy band. And really that's where I was at musically, is I didn't want a rock sounding band or one that had an aggressive style like that necessarily. It was more about just kind of layers and layers and layers of keyboards and experimenting with things. And we released a few albums between 2005 and 2010 that kind of experimented with that. And we could actually, when you go back and look at it, you can see where we started adding more guitars and started playing around with everything. But there was a point where I had to step back, and this is before everybody else was in the group. Skylar joined early on, but when I decided that I wanted to go a different route with it, that's when I went and actually got Daryl into the band around 2010, 2011. And with his in-depth guitar background, I was able to utilize him a lot more and get a lot more guitars into our music. And not necessarily just making it sound like guitars are in the band, but more of how can we make a guitar sound like a keyboard kind of thing, or how can we make this atmospheric, and how can we layer that? So now we're really guilty about layering 5, 6, 7 guitars into a song rather than adding all the keyboards in.
Yeah, like how can we make a synth line feel like a rock show when we play it live? There's a different feel. So it's just learning how to grow with that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing is when I was younger, I was one of those kids that if something had a really good hook to it and it almost sounded too polished, then I was kind of shying away from it because I didn't want people to think we were like a sellout, and that happens a lot with bands where they get a little bit more polished of a sound, or maybe their drum beat or their guitar line or their vocal line has a little bit of a little hop to it or something. Then people start going, well, it's not aggressive enough, or maybe it's too catchy, and so they're going too mainstream for us. And that's something I had to get over, and I had to realize that good music is good music, and if it's catchy, it's catchy. And there's tracks out there that are slower, that have more emotional attachment to them, but they don't have that hook where you're singing it in your head, but it's more of that feeling you have. So we've had to kind of balance both of those pieces in there and say, you know what, we want those in-depth tracks, but we also want to give people the ability to kind of move, to jump up and down, to dance a little bit, to do different things, and kind of portray that across to people.
Now, for those listeners who haven't heard you guys before, how do you describe your sounds that you guys have? What kind of sound do you guys portray musically?
When do you guys want to handle that? This is a common question for us, and we like to change up our answer.
We sound like if there was one band and it dated this other band and had a kid that was this other band.
Well, and exactly right. And but the thing we try to do is for the average listener, we'll tell them it's more of an electronic kind of rock kind of sound. And a lot of people go, what do you mean by that? I'm like, it's rock with keyboards now, is really what it is. We have a rock background big time now. I mean, there's no denying that. Although we have just layers and layers of keyboards, synth drums, acoustic drums, vocoded vocals, clean vocals, aggressive vocals, soft vocals, piano, right? We run the gambit. We're not necessarily worried about fitting into a genre. We're worried about what we like, what we want to portray across to people. When we write these albums, we want people from beginning to end to take a journey with us. And I know a lot of bands want to do that too, and are successful at it. That's one of the things we love to do with that. And if we fit into an industrial sound or electronic rock or just straight rock, whatever it is, for that song, that's what it is. And so we're not afraid of kind of dancing the line. We were joking a few weeks ago where we had an interview and somebody was asking us, what kind of other behind-the-scenes influences you have. And I said, well, we've got like hip-hop. We've got hip-hop drums in there. We've got dubstep. And Kyle, who's the newest member, he said, where the hell is the hip-hop at? And so I had to go into a couple tracks and since he's so new, he didn't get a chance to write a lot of it with us, but he helped kind of mix stuff down. And so I pulled out some pieces of, what was it? Was it Sweat? Sweat. It's our latest single. And towards the end, there's a breakdown. And if you rip out some of the pieces of it, you actually hear the hip-hop drums that are in there. It's got a nice 808 in there. It's got some subs. And it's just got that kind of real standardized hip-hop kind of beat to it. And he's like, oh, it's in there. And I was like, yeah, exactly. We don't want to be literal and just come out and suddenly we're breaking out with a hip-hop song. However, we're going to give you these weird little influences in there that give us a unique flair.
And I know I talked to you guys about this and before we started talking today. And some bands these days, they get offended. And I definitely mean no offense, because when I first listened to you guys, I was reminded of 9 Inch Nails and Stabbing Westward. And those were huge bands to me, and they still are to this day that I listen to, And have you guys heard that before? I mean, Stabbing Westward, 9 Inch Nails, it's got the electronica in it, but it has that heaviness and that grittiness. And then Stabbing Westward has more melody. So I don't want to group you into anything, but I think that's the sound vibe that I got.
Yeah, and you nail it. We like to take our influences from when we were younger and utilize those. That's our style of music. It's that electronic rock or that industrial rock that you hear from Stabbing Westward, 9 Inch Nails, even like a Manson or even like if you want to go kind of a little lower on that, Gravity Kills. Even those aspects, those are the bands that were doing that style. The thing we want to make sure that we do is that even though we're still within that genre, we still wanted to keep it fresh. We don't want people feeling like they're coming to see a band from the 90s. We're not. We're up to date. We're using, all the cool new sounds and new technology, things like that. However, we're giving you that sound that isn't out there and every band plays. So we try to make it unique, but still we dance that line within there. And you'll hear some other weird influences in there that that don't really belong in some of the softer tracks and such.
And there's lots of guitar influence from bands like Smashing Pumpkins or Muse or something like that. That wouldn't normally go with a Nine Inch Nails kind of thing, but that's part of the fun, making all those things work.
My other question I watched you guys do some live performances on YouTube videos. I'm a nut on YouTube, as most people, as a lot of people are. I don't really watch a lot of TV. It's more my time is spent watching YouTube videos, listening to music, doing things like that. And I see you guys perform live at some shows, and you guys have a pretty extensive show when you guys are performing live, like with the lights and the dramatics and thematics. Can you tell everybody about the show? I mean, yes, they can see it on YouTube, see you guys live, but tell us about a live show from you guys. I mean, what people can expect.
So the show we do now is we've dubbed it our enhanced live show. We also for when we can't use the projection. We call it our classic shows. It's very rare that ever happens, but every once in a while the stage may not be big enough or whatnot. Right. So in 2015, we a part of our whole expanding the band and getting an understanding of where we want to be and what we want to sound like and what we want to give our fans, we went back in and said, okay, we can play live. So can every other band. How do we go beyond that? How do we scream louder than everybody else for attention? The internet is just rampant with bands. You go on any of the social media sites, you're just one of a million. So if we're going to go out and we're going to play live, we don't want people just to sit, drink a beer, and hear us in the background and talk to their friends. We want to get every person in that venue to be engaged the entire time. So it was a collective group effort within the band. Drew Greer, who actually does our live video for our shows. He actually goes on the road with us and everything. Him and I are the main creators of the videos, and Kim Little, who does our music videos, helped on the initial kind of launch of this new kind of show that we had. And basically what we've done is we've taken 3D projection and we've put a mesh screen in front of us and then several screens in the middle of the stage and then in the back of the stage behind the drummer. And then so when the projection fires off, it actually gives you it makes it very 3D. It makes it feel like the band is actually within this environment that we're showing you. Mm-hmm. We didn't want the videos to necessarily be like a live shot of, like someone ripping off an old movie or, live shots of music videos or whatnot. We wanted these videos to be the lights for the show. So now we can go to a venue and say, just shut off all the other lights, we've got it, and we run it, which allows us to control the environment for everybody, and it takes you out of, whether we're playing a small bar or a larger venue, we take you out of that environment and we suck you into what we want you to feel and what we want you to kind of envelop as you're going. It took us about 8 months to build it, test it. We built every video from scratch ourselves, and then we tested it, found things didn't work, and just kept doing it over and over and over. And then finally we were able to launch, I think towards the end of 2015, I think is when it was. But what we like to tell people is that it is a large show for the small stage. So we want to give you what these larger acts like Muse or Silver Sun Pickups, these kind of bands that have these big shows, but we want to bring them to the small stage for people so that they're not just going, oh, it's a smaller national band out there who can't bring a big show like a larger band can. We do, and we will continue to. And we're actually working on the next phase of it, which will incorporate even more lighting and some LED projection, some LED screens along with the projection and such. So it's an ever-growing process for us.
I think it's amazing, and I think you guys accomplished what you've wanted to do. As far as it's not a show like anything else that's out there right now. That it's not your typical rock show. It's not your average stereotypical people rocking out. It's an experience more than it is anything. So when you guys do shows like this, what is your favorite thing about performing? What is your favorite thing about performing live?
Oh, well, my favorite thing is not playing guitar. there's times where in the past when we were a 4-piece that I played guitar and sang, and then there's times where Kyle's maybe not be able to do a show or Daryl or something like that, and I'll have to fill in as rhythm guitarist, which makes me feel very tethered. I have to have the mic on the stand, and I'm stuck there. Daryl can contest that or attest that I am a little aggressive at shows at times. So, but I think I think it's the connection for me. It was kind of interesting having our projection show go in place and having a mesh screen in front of us, because at first it almost became a divider of us and the crowd.
Yeah.
And it took a little while for me to figure out how to connect with the crowd who is afraid of the screen. And we found this. It's really interesting that they will stand back fairly far from the screen because they're afraid that they're going to mess up the show or something like that. So, there's times where you have to go, guys, come up, let's rock out, and ends up being where I'm able to go up against the screen, push my hands against it, they'll put their hands up against it, all kinds of different stuff like that. I'll come through the screen. I have people come through the screen. We've had people up on stage decide they want to get on stage before, and there's times where we'll invite people up. We did a song for several years called Parasites that has a super simple chorus that allows people to yell "hey" into the crowd a couple times in a cadence. And so we like to find the drunkest person out in the crowd and get them up on stage and have some fun with them. That's the big thing that we want to do is, connect with that crowd and not feel like there's a wall between us with that screen. So I think that's probably my favorite part of it, and just letting loose. Again, I go a little crazy on stage. Another problem with me playing guitars is I break a lot of them on stage. So
oh my goodness.
Inadvertently. Well, and it's not even like throwing necessarily on the ground. I've ran them into things, jumping around like an idiot, and have broke the heads off of them. I've had the straps rip out on stage, and so it's hitting the ground, and then, just in the moment, you just throw it.
There was one show recently where he hit me with his guitar no less than 6 times.
And that's why I keep some of the more expensive ones at home. That way they can stay that way. So I'm chatting too much here, guys. What do you guys got for your favorite parts?
I like the connection. I like when people come to talk to us after a show. Every city we go to, at least 2 people come up. They're like, "We've never seen any show like this in this."
Right.
Kind of the tax point about bringing a big show to a small stage and smaller towns sometimes. So just being able to get out there and show people what bands are capable of.
Raising the bar for other bands. That's what we want to do. Because we don't feel like we compete against other bands. We're all on the same page with everybody as bands. We're all friends. We all want to see each other succeed. But what we like to do is raise the bar. I've played with some bands that have made me raise the bar. I walk away and I'm like, the energy from that band was astounding. I have to be, that high energy. And that's what we want to do. We want people walking away going, I got to figure out how to do that. And we've had plenty of bands to do that, where they go, hey, how can we do this video? And they'll ask us, how did you guys do it? I'll tell them, because if you can figure it out and do it and accomplish what we were able to do, yes, go out there and do the same type of video.
Now, you kind of hit on that you guys invite sometimes drunk people up to sing with you. Do you guys have any crazy live show stories, like fan stories or tour stories or anything that's happened to you guys with fans or craziness of touring on the road? I hear you giggling, so there must be yes.
Yeah.
Any that you can talk about?
Daryl and I immediately looked at each other and we knew exactly the stories we would start telling. We have plenty. I mean, when you're out on the road, the craziness that ensues is never ending, whether it's lack of sleep or lack of showers or lack of sanity.
Just being stuck in a vehicle with any number of people for so many days on end.
Yeah. And we have some really cool fans out there, and some of them are very, very energetic, and some of them come on very strong, and we won't go into details of that, but just like any band out there, you meet some interesting people that sometimes astound you on what they start talking to you about. People like to open up to us a lot, I think, and tell us their life stories and any of the problems they're having. So those are interesting. But my favorite ones would be what happens to us internally within the band. Whether some of the band members are getting too drunk and then decide that at 5 a.m. they're going to go run out into the woods and puke like 6 times, or and then the next day we're driving and they're dry heaving for 5 hours on the road. You know, it's the way it goes, and those are the kind of the things we cherish. Another fun story is we got to a hotel once, and they offered a free goldfish while you were there, and that was really cool. And yeah, a companion, yeah, a goldfish companion, which I've never seen that before at a hotel, but we found that quite interesting.
Did they actually give you a goldfish to have?
While you're there, yeah. They take it up to your room, and you got a little goldfish. You can name it, yeah.
Talk to it.
Yeah, you know, make it feel better.
Nice.
Yeah, very, very weird.
It would have been cool if they would have had like a giant community tank in the lobby or foyer or something where that's where they pulled the goldfish from.
You could pick one?
I don't know. Yeah, like I want this one. He looks like a thread. In my room.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, there's a few of the band members snore, and so when you're crashed in a small area together, you may beat the crap out of each other with pillows and scream at them. And then the next day they wake up refreshed, and the rest of you have like 1 hour sleep, and you want to murder them. You know, things like that. There's all kinds of fun stories in that kind of realm.
I'm sure. Now, I also watched the video. I watched the new video, Sweat, and tell me your interpretation of the video and what it means and what the song means, because to me it exudes a lot of sexuality in the song, and that may be not your intentions, but as a listener, that's what I hear. So tell me your version of the song and of the video and explain it a little bit.
So that's exactly what we wanted to get across with it. Daryl, go ahead. You've got stuff to say.
That was one of the earlier songs we had written for this album, and we had come up with that drum line, the bass line, there's a little bit of synth going on, and me and Zach just kind of looked at each other. We're like, oh, this song is sexy. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that planted the seed that that's what it would ultimately become, but yeah, no, it's all about being sexy.
And this new album it's short, it's sweet. Normally we do full-length albums. But and this is kind of off subject of this, but it will kind of come full around what we're talking about with it. But we decided to do 6 tracks, an EP rather than an LP like we've done in the past, because of the way the kind of momentum is going with music these days. People aren't necessarily listening to a full album. Some do. Daryl and I are more traditionalists in that realm, where we love to hear full albums from beginning to end when they come out. But we know a lot of people are out there just buying, a track off of iTunes or whatever, or watching it on YouTube, and they're not necessarily listening to the full spectrum of what we were trying to get from track 1 to 12 or whatever it is.
Right.
So what we wanted to do is make these tracks stand alone, make them all single-worthy in their own right for what we wanted to do. But another thing that we did a little different is our past albums have always been kind of a storyline, a full concept, not personal to us, but more of just storytelling. It's almost like if we're writing a book or a novel or a comic book or something like that, right? This one, every one of them hit home for us in some way or another, in some emotional impacted way. So we don't. One of the things we don't like to do is tell people exactly what we want them to get from the tracks. So when people ask us, what did this track mean to you? What does this kind of infer? Why did you write it like this? We don't necessarily want to tell you that, because we have fans that come up to us who've listened to some of our past albums and have said, you know what, this album got me through, this divorce or through this painstaking loss of life or whatever it ended up being. And to them, the track meant something to them. Right. And to us, we walk away and we go, that is not what that album was about. However, I don't want to tell you that. I want you to take what you want out of it and enjoy it for what it is, for what you want it to be. The one track that always kind of astounds me, and this is from a couple albums ago, is a track called Repeat. And it is actually not a sexual song in any way. It's a little slower. I think it's got a little groove to it, maybe some sex in the sound to it, maybe. But it is not about sex in any way. No lust, nothing like that. And I can't tell you how many times we play it live, and people are just like oh, that song was so sexy, you know, the lyrics are sexy. And it's actually about redundancy, like how it's monotony, how things are just happening over and over and over, and you can't get out of the rut of what you're doing. And it's just, it's interesting that is kind of that kind of thing, you know. And so we even broke our rule there by telling you that's what we're meaning by that. But it's a good kind of background on that. So Sweat, yes, is a very sexual song. It doesn't have a big backstory to it. It is what it is. It is meant to be a sexy song that you know, kind of, for some people, might unnerve them a little bit. People who aren't comfortable in their sexuality or dealing with other people's sexuality. And really that's the basis of that track. And it's kind of funny because in the past people haven't asked us about other tracks and what they mean too much. But on Sweat, everybody wants to know the background of it. And it's kind of funny because I'm like, there's not a lot. You know, we can talk about some of the other tracks that have a little bit more depth, but this one's it's all hanging out there. It's a sexual song all the way.
To that point, all of the other songs on the EP that we just released, Retaliate, the other tracks outside of Sweat all were kind of heavy as far as subject matter goes. You know, they all have a personal story to them. To Sweat is kind of a nice change of pace, kind of, you know, it's dancier, you know, it makes people, you know, just rips sweat.
Yeah, and for the video, again, you want to dance that fine line of being literal and giving somebody, you know, something visually appealing for the music video, because that's what it's about. Is if you don't have something that keeps people's attention for that 3.5, 4 minutes of that song, you might as well just make a lyric video like everybody else does.
Right.
So, you know, we wanted an area that we could have something visually appealing through the whole thing. I think the backdrop for the video was great. The red tile in the background popped. The ability to kind of use that as our background of it and have the band in there, but then still have Megan, the actress that was in it, you know, take that lead role and kind of ease that sexiness out of it. Where myself, I don't know how to do that. I can't even move my hips. They're kind of locked in place. I have no wiggle dance moves. So, you know, you're not going to rely on me on it. So, you know, we'll let Megan handle that and let her do the sexy wiggling and all that. And I'll just give you that brooding, angry guy look, you know, that I do so well. You know, and let that portray what we want, you know, to people to like it and have fun watching, be able to watch it again. We also, you know, with this one, there's a lot of moving pieces in it. Very quick shots over and over and over. So you have to watch it several times to pick up all the little different things in there. You know, I actually, when Ken got done doing the edit on it, I was watching it and I was watching the background change out to partially, you know, black and white, and then it goes back red and everything. And I didn't even realize that at times the people in the video, all of us, were going black and white too. And I was like, oh, I didn't even notice that because so much was happening. And so, you know, we've got to keep that visually appealing.
Now, you talked a little bit about how people are buying one song at a time these days, and I've talked to a lot of bands who say the same thing, that they're either just releasing track by track by track, or they're not releasing a complete CD or complete album, but they're doing things one by one and just, you know, to try to keep the momentum going throughout. Why do you think it's changed? Do you think that's changed over the years? I mean, because you guys have been together for a while. Do you think that's changed over the years because the availability of music, or what do you think has changed people's? Because I'm 40, so I still like the whole album and I want to hear the whole story. And even if it's not interconnected or not, I want to hear the whole album. So do you think it hits home as a whole album for, you know, people who are older and into rock music, and then people who are younger, they just do the track by track by track? What do you think has changed?
You know, and that's a huge subject for the music industry right now is what has changed, why has it changed, and how do you respond to it? I think the reason why that has changed is because of the accessibility of tracks. YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, all those different ways of just getting a track. And you can get it anytime you want. So it's like instant gratification. Oh, I heard this on TV, somebody played it, or it was at the end of a movie or whatever. You find that track, you buy it, and you go on your way. Where used to, you could listen to it on the radio, you'd hear it every once in a while, but if you wanted to actually hear that band, you had to go and buy the whole thing. Now that they don't have to buy the whole thing, they're like, I'll spend $1 on it. And in my opinion, it sadly devalues musicians as a whole, because someone has no problem going up and buying a chicken sandwich from Wendy's for $5. They'll do that every single day for lunch. Right. But if you ask somebody to buy an album for $5, a digital one, they're like, I don't know. Yeah, that you can have forever. They're just like, I don't know, maybe. I really like you guys, but I could just listen to you on Spotify. I'm not going to give you that $5 to help, make sure that you make more music for me later on. It almost becomes, music has become a background noise for people that they just assume will always be there, and they expect it to be there, rather than it being something that's being offered up. So, imagine if tomorrow everyone woke up and all the streaming sites went down and you could no longer stream anything. How many people would have no music, and what would they do all day, right? They would be losing their minds, because that playlist should be playing in their background all the time. They may love our music. They may want to hear us. They don't understand that those streaming sites don't pay us anything, really. It's right. Like 0.0001 of a cent every play. Yeah. And you know what? I'm like, I would rather one person just buy my song for $1, and I can get that $1 out of that to help the band grow, rather than trying to push it to all the streaming sites. But at the same time, you've got to be on streaming sites in order to be noticed more. It's that double-edged sword in there.
When you devalue a musician, that devalues the art, and so people are used to just spending $1 or whatever on the single. They don't need the whole thing, and so that means people aren't sitting down for 35 or 40 minutes listening to a whole album.
Right.
Well, and on that note, just to add to that, imagine going to a movie and going, I only want to see 3 minutes of this movie because it's my favorite part. I love what that actor said. The rest of it, it's a good movie. So I'm just going to buy that 3 minutes of that movie. That's all I want. It's for $1. I'm going to go on my way. So you don't get the full experience. As artists, we want you to hear track 1 through 12, because we sat there for months going, should it be track 1 and 2, or should we move that to 3? Maybe we shouldn't have that one. Maybe we should have this other track back in and move that around. That is one of the most difficult things for us as musicians, is to decide on that track order and how we want people to feel from beginning to end. Do we end on a heavy track that just drops off? Do we give you a soft track that just kind of plays you out, and you're just kind of sitting there like, whoa, what did I just listen to? It's all those things. So if you're only wanting that one little piece of it, to us, we're like, you're not getting our full story. You're just hearing that tiny little bit.
So specifically, right, we did an album a couple albums ago called After the Fall, and I think the runtime on that was 54 minutes or something. It was pretty long. And we would talk to some fans that had never heard the end of the album, because their drive to work was 30 minutes long, and that's when they set aside time for music.
Right.
So the next album we did had a runtime of 32 minutes, and people knew all of those songs.
Wow.
Because it fit more into their busy schedule. They didn't have to set aside a whole hour to listen to something. So, so trying to figure out how to say everything you want to say as an artist, and from a marketing standpoint, still being able to sell that and have people listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about that before we made this EP. Was there were quite a few songs over the last few albums that we felt like were amazing tracks that we want everyone to hear, and they just didn't get the airplay that the other ones did. Because most bands, you get 2 singles at most out of your album that people want to hear, and by that time you've made it through music videos and through the airplay, and then you're on to your next album, and then you start pushing it, and everyone's kind of working based off of that. So we were thinking to ourselves, if we release this EP, then we have those 5-6 tracks. People can focus on that. They can digest that. And then we can bring out another one where we give you 5 or 6 tracks, and you can digest all of that. And it also gives us the ability, we go play live, we can play all 5 or 6 of those tracks live and still keep some of the old ones that everybody wants to hear.
Do you think, though, that there's a trickle-down effect, especially over the past few years? Because I've been going to rock shows since I was 17, and so I've been going to rock shows for a very long time, and just the whole, to sum it all up, the scene of things has changed. Do you think there's a trickle-down effect from how people don't want to pay for music, do you guys see, and what I see over the United States as a whole, there's pockets where the rock music or music scenes, whether it be jazz, whether it be rap, whatever it is, there's pockets around the country where it's like huge. But then there's holes, like where I live. There's no rock music whatsoever. There's no huge bands that come around. There's nothing like that in my area. Where you guys are at, there may be a huge scene, but do you see a trickle-down effect where it's affected your shows and like attendance and things like that, where people aren't coming out to the shows like they may have used to like 10 years ago?
A little bit, maybe. I think it's kind of coming back around, just like live music as a whole. The last few years, you look at, the major acts and even the ones just below that who were touring now, like here in Kansas City, the concert schedule for the summer is it's unbelievable. And it just keeps getting better every year. And so we notice some of these towns we go play, they may only have a couple of rock bands that ever go through there or from there. So they tend to appreciate it more, and it feels like a big deal, when a band from Kansas City rolls through, somewhere in South Dakota or something like that. And
there and just to add on to that point, he's exactly right. There are some cities out there that are smaller that don't have a lot of music. And, when a band comes through town that can give you that large show, it's a big deal. Like Daryl was saying, is, we walked into a small town out in the middle of Kansas that I don't know how many, there are a few thousand people. I mean, it's a smaller city. And when we walked in, we're hanging out at this mall beforehand. We like to go to dead malls, by the way, when we're out traveling. It's one of our favorite things to do. Fun fact for everybody. It's almost like a zombie film. Like there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Mall, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
We like to walk around when the lights, if the lights are flickering and all the stores are closed, we want to be there. But
that's creepy.
So we go there. Yeah. So we go there, and they have their little kind of local city, small newspaper thing. And so we're just kind of looking at it like, hey, maybe we're in there. And so we flip it open, and we get to page 2, and sure enough, Skylar has half the page with her face on it, and it says Razorwire Halo tonight or this weekend or whatever in this town, and we're like, what the hell? That's freaking awesome. So and they used one of our promo pics where we had we each band member got to be in the front, and then the other ones would be in the back, and we made one for each one. And they picked the one that was Skylar, probably because she's the pretty one. And so pretty. And so we've been giving her crap and nicknamed her Page 2 at times.
Motor was like, who plays bass? I play bass. That's what I'm putting in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm putting in there. So, it's things like that. And then the crowd came that night, and we had no idea that many people were in that city. And it was amazing, and the crowd was boisterous. They jumped around, they got into it, and they went crazy. And then you can play a large city. There's one time we played Dallas, and there were a ton of people at this venue, and they just sat there. Like nobody was moving. They just watched us. And sometimes that happens because they're just soaking in this video that we're showing them, this whole live show. People don't know what to do. And usually when we start the show, what happens is we know people kind of like us, is all of a sudden you see a sea of cameras go up and they start filming. So I can't tell you how many intro YouTube videos there are of our live show because they just start filming right at the beginning of it. We play more than just, away in the intro, but they do that and then the last track.
To that original point, the town with the Page 2 article, we go through there probably 2 times a year now for the last couple of years, and you can see parts of the town that are just kind of shutting down. It really is kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So, whenever they have a big rock show at this place, people turn out because that's what they're going to do in that town.
Yeah,
so,
it's a big deal for them. And then you play those larger cities, and people see bands every single night, and they can see whatever they want. So, it really is, like you're saying, some places it's dead, some places it's not. And part of it is just playing the right venue. There's places where we go and play, and there may be a smaller crowd, and they're like, hey, if you played, down the street and to the left, that's where everybody likes to go. They hate this place, and you have no idea why, because the venue is a great venue to you, has good sound, people are nice. But whatever local politics they have going on, somebody's made somebody mad somewhere, and so nobody wants to go to that venue anymore. And that's just the things you kind of deal with in that realm. And even in the scene within Kansas City, growing up here playing these local shows, when we did a lot more in the past, we only play 3-4 in Kansas City a year, because you can't oversaturate even your hometown. You need to give them enough that they know you're there, but not too much that they say they can see you every month. So again, I totally agree with you on that it is dead in some spots and not in others. And I think the instant gratification of having those music available to them through iTunes and all that probably does have something to do with that. Same thing with YouTube. Someone's like, well, I'll just watch their live show on YouTube or whatever, which a lot of people don't realize.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah, it's not even close.
People, the kids these days, they don't so much, not as many of them get attached to bands, and when I was in high school, I'd discover a band and I would have to know everything about that band.
That's me to this day.
The bass player grew up. Just everything. Those are my guys.
Right.
And I think with the garage band being so readily available and stuff like that, just about anybody can put out music. So there's so much stuff out there that it's harder to get people to engage with and become attached and want to know those stories.
And it's funny, growing up, telling people you're in a band, you immediately get that, oh, you're in a band. And then you're like, no, seriously, a real band that goes out on the road and tours and has music videos and a school light show. And then you show it to them and they go, oh, you're like a real band. And you're like, yeah, like a real one. Like, this is legitimately what we do, So that's always fun trying to explain that to people.
Well, and I feel sad. You talked about, younger kids and stuff like that. I feel sad for, people who do think like that. I'll just watch the YouTube video, because there's so many layers to go into a show regardless. I mean, I've only liked rock music my whole life. I mean, I've never been to any other shows, but there's just, the vibe of the crowd. There's just everything that goes into it that people aren't going to get from watching a YouTube video. I mean, you're going to get the gist of the music and the song and all of that, but there's just so many feelings. Or there's times when I went to a show and I was on the fence about a band, and then wow, or maybe you're shocked. There's two or three bands you like, and then there's another one you don't know. There's been times when I went to see a certain band and been blown away by another one. So there's just so much you miss if that with that attitude, and I definitely hope that's not the future of everything.
Oh, I agree. I would hate for it to get to that point, because honestly, it's way easier for us to sit in a studio and write music all day long and do everything. Playing live is the difficult part. It's the, getting the live shows together, getting the venues, getting the crowds out there, getting to the venue and making sure all your stuff didn't blow up on the road from the night before when you accidentally ran into Daryl and broke your guitar in half, things like that. And that's part of the fun for us anyways. The bruises are real, yeah. So, and the power behind music, you can hear a band on an album and it's super polished and it may sound, smooth and not real heavy, and then you go and see them live and you're like, oh, they're way heavier than I thought they were, and there's way more power behind them and more aggressiveness of it, things like that. And that's what we want to do, is we don't want you guys to just hear our album when we play live. We want you to hear the live interpretation of it. But we still want it to be high quality, sound amazing, and leave you in awe as you're walking out of that venue.
Right.
We just want to give you that other version of it.
Maybe the whole thing is on the uptick too, because with the digital services, going down, not the streaming ones, but the purchasing,
like iTunes. Yeah.
People are getting vinyl is back. People are getting more into the physical stuff, which, provides more art, and it becomes a thing. So, maybe it's on the uptick, getting back to the appreciation and love.
Yep.
We can only hope, and I mean, that's why we push music out there, and I kind of preach a little, it sounds cheesy, but I'm always like, share the love from music, because I tell people I know, and I tell people on the show that just a like or a comment or a share, if you just share it one time, then your friend's friend could see it, and then their friend's friend could see it, and they'd be like, whoa, this is cool. And that doesn't take money, and that only takes seconds of time, and you do it with silly cat posts or, crazy videos of people hurting themselves. So, it's kind of a cheesy aspect to spread the love for music, but that's what I'm out there to do because I want people to feel the music like I do. And, I want everybody to be able to do that. So
we've had people at shows come up and like, hey, I came with my friend to see this other band. I love you guys, and they buy all of our albums.
Yeah.
And that's the same as the chair,
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing with that. With someone saw us last time, they brought a friend with them. That's how we're going to get bigger. That's how we're going to get more notoriety. We have publicity company. They're working their tails off and getting us noticed more out there. But word of mouth is the only way musicians are going to get noticed. And we're on the same boat on that. We preach that every day, going, all you have to do is share us. Like our page, share us. Share us on Twitter, all the different social medias. Because again, Facebook locks everything down so much. It's almost worthless at times to be on there with that. But if everyone's talking about us, then everyone's going to know about us, and then they're going to go and they're going to look us up and they're going to go, oh, they're coming to town, and then they're going to continue on from that path. And when people stop talking about you, that's when you no longer are relevant at that time. Right. And so you are constantly sitting, in the studio writing music and going, okay, the music's great. How do we make sure people see this music when it comes out? And, one of the things we joke about when we got a publicity company we signed on is I straight out told them, I go, it turns out we suck at publicity. We work really, really hard every day to, get attention out there. But apparently we suck and we don't know how to do it. So we need a company to come in and help us out and get us to that next level on getting more people to see us without us, spending 90 hours a week on all the social media sites saying hi to people and stuff.
Right.
Give us more time to actually write music.
Of course, to do what you guys love to do and to do what you guys want to get out there. So what is it that you guys have in store for the rest of the year? Do you guys have any tours coming up, new music? What are you guys writing? What is it that you have in store for the rest of 2018 or doing currently that you can talk about?
Yes, all of it.
Go ahead.
So we've got a few dates here in May around the Midwest area. It's kind of revamping some of our live show that we had previously. Getting everything ready to go. It's in support of this new EP, Retaliate. And actually, what day is this, the second? The first. Oh, today we were actually supposed to be back in the studio starting our next album. So that's today. So, that'll be later tonight. We'll be talking about that. We never stop writing. So as soon as we finished Retaliate, we had to get prepared for the upcoming tour dates. But our management company has set a date of November 1st to have the next album ready on our side to begin promotion and everything for a release next year. So behind the scenes, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of fun stuff with writing a new album while still pushing Retaliate and going out on the road. We do plan on doing another music video. It'll be for another track on Retaliate. It's called Pretty.
Okay.
It'll probably be the summertime when we get that filmed and then released because we want to make sure there's a little bit of a gap between releasing Sweat music video and then that one. And then we'll be gearing up again probably around November. You guys will start seeing some new promo work, some new look. Every album has a little bit of a different look. This one had a real glitchy look. I don't know what the next one's going to be yet. We'll figure that out as we're writing. But you'll see some new pieces on there. We're an ever-evolving band, and we never want to just do the same thing we already did. So if people that go back and look at all of our past photos, past music videos, all that, you'll notice every album has a distinct look and kind of sound built behind it. So the new album, whether it ends up being a full length or another EP, will end up being, having its own kind of look and feel and everything with it.
And then the tour you guys have, is that already like a set-in-stone tour that you guys have coming up? You said you're touring the Midwest?
Yeah, so we've already started playing some shows. We were down in Arkansas, and we were down in Dallas, Texas, and we played a KC show. We'll be up in Omaha playing a show here soon. We'll be out in Kansas. So we have quite a few dates already booked. The thing that we do a little different than a lot of other bands is we don't necessarily book out like 3 weeks in a row.
Okay.
we found that your Tuesday, your Wednesdays, your Thursdays usually end up being lower turnouts. So we want people to have the ability to come out to these shows more when we do. So what we'll do is we'll set dates where we'll play like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we'll go out and we'll play from outside of Kansas City and go all the way out as far as we can, come back, and then the next weekend we go out and do that. So you'll see us kind of coming in and out of our hometown on dates, and we actually found it's actually far more cost-effective to do that, and the turnout at our shows are much higher than because it allows those people to get out there on a Friday and Saturday as much as possible.
Oh, yeah.
We do, and we've got some dates that are going to be announced for June. We'll have a couple there, and then we'll kick back off in I think late August, September, and then October. We'll do a bunch more dates. We are planning on expanding during that time and going out more to the east and the west on those. I think we've actually what are we, about 20 states out of the 50? We've played in multiple cities of each one of those states. So we're just making our way further out towards California and the East Coast and everything like that. And part of that is the notoriety. The more people hear about us, the further out we can go and get people at these venues. Because the first thing a venue is going to ask you is, can you draw anybody? And if you go,
right.
Oh, I've never been there, nobody knows me there, they're going to go, no, I don't want to book you. So what we have to do is build that fan base in those cities and then go to those cities. And then, we have no problem when we get there proving ourselves and showing that we have a professional show and that people love it. So then every venue we play, we're invited back immediately. And so we're growing that kind of not only fan base, but that venue base that we need in order to keep coming back to cities.
Well, definitely. I thank you guys for talking to me, and I want you guys to come back anytime you guys want to talk about a tour or an album or anything that you guys coming up. I thank you for coming on the show today.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Hey, oh wait, hold on. Hold on. Stop it.
Okay, go ahead. You tell me.
Do I need to? We need to say our name?
Yeah. Just go. This is Daryl, and you're listening to Not the Girl Next Door show on Rock Rage Radio.
Well, don't forget to say Razorwire Halo, who you guys are.
Well, I guess.
It's for you too. It's a promotion for you too.
I was paraphrasing for him. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's a promotion for both of us.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
Here we go. Hey, this is Daryl with Razorwire Halo. You're listening to Not the Girl Next Door show for Rock Rage Radio. This is Daryl with Razorwire Halo. You're listening to Not the Girl Next Door show for Rock Rage Radio.